Greetings. Donna and I call ourselves Still on the Hill. My name's Kelly.
I'm Donna.
And we are here today to share with you some programs we do for children in the area where we live. We live in Fayetteville, so we work all over northwest Arkansas in the Ozark Mountains. And that's what we like to sing and talk about. And so we offer a few different programs through the Arkansas Arts Council. And one of them is called Instrument Makers of the Ozarks, and one of them is called the Ozark Journey. And there's other variations that we do. We have lots of paraphernalia and lots of instruments and lots of things to tell you. We're going to go kind of quickly, but we're going to give you a quick overview of some of the things we can offer you. First of all, let's start with the instrument makers with Elliott Smith.
Yes, and we have, in all of our shows, we have our low-tech PowerPoint. It's kind of a little joke. But here's our first quilt.
Okay. This is Elliott Smith, 95 years old, still living.
Lives in Jasper, and he makes amazing instruments.
This instrument is a banjo made out of a cookie tin.
Currier and Ives cookie tin.
He's very resourceful. We have a couple instruments made by Mr. Elliott. There's a very unusual violin that Donna's going to show you.
He found a photo of a traditional Norwegian hardanger fiddle, and he made his own version of it. It has the traditional lion heads and 8 strings. 4 of them you don't even play. They just run under the fingerboard sympathetically. So we kind of talk, that's the science part of the show. We talk about sympathetic resonance.
And now this is a banjo that Elliott made. It looks kind of like an ordinary banjo. It's got beautiful inlays, but what makes it unusual is that the shell here, the pot, is actually made from a DeSoto brake drum that he found by the side of the road.
Pretty resourceful, if you ask me.
And it's wonderful. So, yet another instrument maker would be Jim Lee. Now we tell a story called the Yellow Cat Banjo, which is a traditional story from the Ozarks.
This is Jim Lee playing one of his creations.
And here is the Yellow Cat Banjo that Jim Lee made, and you can see there's a yellow cat on the peg head. It's a fretless banjo, very much in the style of a banjo from about 1860. It's a very historic instrument.
Actually, we kind of talked through the kids about we have versions of different banjos through the years, and we play the jawbone of a mule, and we tell them that no mules were harmed in the making of this instrument, but it's a percussion instrument that was popular in the Ozarks.
This is yet another Jim Lee instrument that we play in some of our shows. This is a beautiful piece of work. See, the back is carved out of one solid piece of crabapple tree. And the top is aromatic cedar from Arkansas. This is just a fabulous instrument that we'll be using. Probably our favorite instrument maker, and the one we spent the most time on, is Ed Stilley. And this is a picture of Ed Stilley. Now, Ed Stilley lives in Hog Skull Holler. I'm afraid he just passed away very recently. And he was 89 years old. He made hundreds of musical instruments and gave them all to children. And they're very unusual, and we have a couple to show you real quick. This is the magnificent butterfly guitar, like no other guitar.
And a fiddle. This is actually a fiddle.
And not only are they really unusual in the way they're shaped, and they all have this inscription, true faith, true light, have faith in God, but also they have innards. They have saw blades and door springs. This one has chainsaw parts.
We also love to talk to the children about what is the difference between a fiddle and a violin, and we show that.
That's right. And where's the line between folk art and fine art?
Yeah.
These are really deep questions that we talk to kids about. By the way, we took the Ed Stilley instruments to the doctor and had them x-rayed. So there's the insides of the butterfly guitar.
Yep, there's the saw blade, and here's the springs. This is kind of a side view photo, and the kids find that incredibly fascinating.
This is actually Donna's fiddle.
Yeah.
And you can see the chainsaw mounting bracket in there, along with some springs. It's
kids are fascinated by that story.
Now we also sing songs about people, places, and things. So let's talk about a couple people. We did a whole album of stories about the Buffalo River, and one of them was about Granny Henderson.
Granny Henderson lived on the banks of the Buffalo River her whole life. She was just an amazingly fascinating woman. This photo was actually in National Geographic back in the 70s, and we had to get special permission to use it. But we have a great song about her and her lifestyle.
Kind of a sad story, but an important story. We did a whole project about a historic town called Cane Hill, and one of our favorite selections from that is actually about the town musician named Booth Campbell. And there's a picture of Booth Campbell, and we play a fretless banjo like he played, and we sing one of the songs that he'd made famous that was part of the Mary Parlor collection. We actually talk about that collection and the song catching and preserving these old historic Ozark songs.
Goodbye, my honey, I'm gone.
And this song is the song we sing has some barnyard elements. And my whole life, I grew up here in Arkansas and have deep roots here, and I've always loved the Limberjack toys. And so these are Limberjack toys that we built for that particular song. And we get kids or teachers sometimes to come up on stage and
they have bobbleheads too.
They operate the Limberjack puppets. Let's see what else we have to talk about. Oh, how about places?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we have a whole album about the Beaver Lake watershed. And one of the songs on that is an explanation for a place called Lost Bridge. This is Lost Bridge in the 1920s.
And it was really lost.
It was actually toppled over in a flood, and now it sits at the bottom of Beaver Lake, hundreds of feet underwater.
And I play my Arkansas on that song, and we get the kids to interact, and they love the saw.
It's kind of spooky. Now, Don and I are nature lovers. We are avid bird watchers. We teach bird watching for the Audubon Society at the Halberg Audubon Camp every year. And we also love trees. One tree that we're very interested in is the chinkapin, the Ozark chinkapin chestnut tree, which is virtually extinct because of the blight that hit in the 1950s. But there's an effort to bring it back, and we're part of that effort. We're on the board of the Chinkapin Foundation. And this is Donna with one of the champions that survives today. And actually, we were so pleased when the board of the Chinkapin Foundation decided to arrange for the building of an Appalachian dulcimer for us. This is probably the only dulcimer in existence
yeah.
made out of Ozark chinkapin chestnut.
It was a chestnut, an Ozark chinkapin that died in the drought. And they had the wood dried and preserved, and then the little cutouts are actually the shape of a chinkapin leaf. The old timers called them chinky pins, and we have a great song about the history of the chinkapin tree. And in a world where a lot of species and stuff are disappearing, it's so awesome that there is a very important tree that is being brought back.
Yeah, that's true. So we have one more instrument maker to share with you, but before we do, just want to tell you again that these programs are available. You can get matching funds. We have a lot of experience working with young audiences. We oftentimes like to target 4th through 6th grade, but high school students are sometimes left behind, and they deserve to have good entertainment as well. If we can do an assembly, that's usually what we do, but we can also do in classroom work. We can do workshops. We're very versatile. We can fine-tune the programs for your needs.
We have our own sound system. Kelly's a master sound technician, and so we can provide our own sound. We're pretty all self-contained, and we love to come perform for your students.
So the last thing we're going to share with you is actually, and then we're going to play a whole song so you can hear what we sound like. We're going to tell you about a legendary fiddle maker named Mr. Bose, or Denton Bose.
Denton Bose. Now, actually, I met him about 40 years ago. He lived in a little shack back in the hills, and he made his own fiddles. He had no electricity. He just used a pocket knife and a little adze to make these violins, and we actually have the very last fiddle that he ever made, and it's amazing. This is a Mr. Bose fiddle. He carved...
Let me see if I can get
yes,
this
you
up.
can get it close. He carved the back bas relief for America's bicentennial. He carved the Liberty Bell on the back.
You can actually see the crack in the bell. The kids love that.
It's a good piece of history.
And it's got grass growing around the edges and other little beautiful details. So we're going to play this song for you.
Mm-hmm. And Kelly's going to play the mandolin. And this is a song we called The Ode to Mr. Bose.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Ode to Mr. Bose.
I met him 40 years ago. He was ancient then, but he's been around the sun 100 times. Don't know what possessed me to visit him again. Curious if he was still alive.
His old weather-beaten shack had gone to rack and ruin. The way it was back then I can recall.
But I do remember his old coffee can spittoon and all those handmade fiddles on the wall.
Mr. Bose, oh, Mr. Bose, that fiddle making man.
He took his favorite fiddle down, blew off years of dust, held it like a mother holds a babe. The A string it was missing and the other three were rust, but he tuned it up, played it anyway.
Shaky fingers fumbled on like a blind man in the dark, grabbing each and every note he could find.
He played a tune or two, then he wailed on old Joe Clark, playing it as if it was the last time. Oh,
Mr. Bose, oh, Mr. Bose, that fiddle making man.
In the heart of the Ozarks, the old man lived his life, a simple one with no great tales of fame. But to me he is a legend, if only in my mind, and in this song his memory will remain.
As I think about him now, I wish that he had more. I've never seen such poverty and strife.
But who's to say what's rich, Lord, who's to say what's poor? He had a wealth of music in his life.
Oh, Mr. Bose, oh, Mr. Bose, that fiddle making man.
And he played. Ode to Mr. Bose.
Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to get a hold of us, just go to stillonthehill.com and there's a contact button and that's our email. So hope we hear from you soon. Bye-bye.